welcome to Moonstar, a Sailor Moon podcast. This is the remastered version of this episode. If you're looking for the original cut, it will be available on the Sunshine Farm Entertainment YouTube channel, where it's always been. And this will be uploaded as a separate episode, technically there. But here it should be the second in the feed still. So hopefully if you heard the first one, you came back to listen once you saw the remastered tag. Welcome back. This week, Chris and I will be discussing Negavision's fan dub of the second episode of Sailor Moon. This episode was not originally translated into English by Deke. To find out why, you're going to have to keep listening. But first, just a little bit about Negavision. Negavision was a group of fan dubbers founded in 1998 by Andrew Dowler. Their aim was to produce dubbed versions of all episodes of Sailor Moon, of the Sailor Moon anime that were not included in the English dub. They dubbed the first 7 episodes of Sailor Stars before their website closed in 2006. Their dubs were done in a similar style to that of the English dub and included the Today on Sailor Moon and Sailor Says segments. Their dubs were first released on VHS tapes and later on DVDs. That is just taken from the Wiki Moon page. Obviously, they also did some other projects as well, including the one we're going to cover today and some other episodes as well. And I also wanted to let you guys know about Fighter for Love. That's fighter spelled normally, the number 4, and then L-U-V. That is a more accessible fan dub that has, I believe, done this episode as well as many others, also in the Deke style. So if you cannot get a hold of the Negavision one, that's okay. You're going to hear some clips from it today during the show, but definitely go check out the Fighter for Love one, or just watch it in Japanese. You know, whatever way you decide to consume this episode, I hope you enjoy the show. So I will see you guys in the outro. Peace.
Something is weird with Melvin today on Sailor Moon, and I mean way weirder than normal. It's almost as if he's possessed by some evil force. Will I be able to save him? Just sit right there, and I'll show you.
So episode 2 of Sailor Moon was actually not dubbed by Deke, and the one that we used for this is called MacDaddy Melvin by Negavision. And this is an old 90s fan dub that you'll be able to tell the age from some of the references and the jokes in it. But I like this one because it was meant to be done in the style of Deke, so I think it fits nicely in this set as we go through the series. And then it's like a way to not leave out the missing episodes as well. Before I get into my notes, how did you feel about I would say, like, keep in mind, these are fans who made it for free. What is your overall take on how they did?
I guess it's fine for what it is, yeah.
It's not, by 2023 standards, high quality by any means, but right. I would say it definitely gets the job done, and it definitely feels like it's of the era, right?
Yeah.
Something I love that they did was they did their own Today on Sailor Moon intro that we always get on the Deke episodes, and they also like made their own little version, like music video of the Sailor Moon intro. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of cute. And then, do you remember, can you just say what the basic plot is for this episode?
Yeah, isn't it? It's something, I guess, like Umino and other people in the school get really into like a tarot card reader, and then that ends up like screwing things up and making a big deal about shit.
Basically Melvin gets possessed by or something, or a spell put on him, and it makes him act like sort of, I think in the time period they would call it like a player or like a playboy or whatever, from the 90s. I don't know if that's accurate. What would you call it today in today's terminology? a fuck boy. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
He kind of, I mean, he's acting like a douchey hot guy, kind of, who thinks he's hot and can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Which for Melvin is so outside of his personality. That's why I think they had him be the target for this, to emphasize what was going on with him. This was cut from the original dubbing because he flips up her skirt at one point, and I think there's just too much of, like, with the idea of him doing something like that to a teacher, and they were really gearing this show more towards kids than it was in Japan when they were dubbing it. I think it's pretty obvious why this was cut. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Do you remember that moment?
Is that you, Melvin? Where's your school uniform, Melvin? Do you want to get in trouble?
Monster dear Malfancy Serena says yes.
The answer is no. Just what's come over you?
Melvin, I can't believe you to pull such a stunt. Yum. I know you aren't eating in the hall. Ah! Have a nice day, Miss H. What disrespect! What's the matter with kids these days?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Had you seen it when you first watched, like, through this part of Sailor Moon? Were you watching Japanese?
Yeah.
So you probably saw it right away then, right?
Yeah. And plus, like, in the age of, as anime, like, aesthetic accounts became more popular for some reason, the, like, some screenshots of the Yoma from this episode during the tarot card scene, like, got really popular too. So
Was it a meme?
like the sub no, it was just like a aesthetic thing.
Oh, see, that's like a generational. My brain is like, what? Okay, I know what the word means, but then I'm trying to imagine, like, all these accounts that just post images to be an aesthetic, and then I'm trying to understand it, and then my brain is like, we don't have the RAM for that. We need to upgrade.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Aesthetic, like an aesthetic account.
Well, and that pretty much just like accounts that post anime screenshots from older series that either just look cool or they have sad or dramatic it's like whatever is being said is, and the subtitles is like sad and dramatic or like really relatable, or
so it's kind of like if you like a show, you follow an aesthetic account to just see little, like, bloops from it every day or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cute. I don't hate that. Okay, I'm into it. I like aesthetic accounts then. Oh, so they were trying to imitate the voice actors from Deke when they were doing this. And I thought that the people who got the closest were probably Melvin, even though it's a little bit funny, but you can tell they were trying to do him. I thought Molly was great. It was like a watered down Boston accent. It wasn't quite as strong, but you could still hear it. And then I thought Luna did pretty decent. Did anyone stand out to you from these, like, 90s random fans, people who did this, as being particularly good?
I guess, I mean, not particularly anyone specific, but I guess everyone did a good job for what it is, like what you just said, like for imitating a child, like a children's dub for an anime. I think it's pretty decent.
Yeah, and I would say the biggest issues with it are, you can tell, like, it was all recorded on different devices and sent in, because like, some people sound like they're on the radio, some people it sounds professional, other people it's wild. But again, it's fans who did it. So Melvin crushing on Serena still. So this, I guess, is still continuing. It goes on for a while in the season, but eventually doesn't he just settle down with Molly and then he kind of forgets about Serena romantically?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought so too. So it's kind of a sweet time that we still get to see that. Oh, the fortune teller is using a method of fortune telling, something to do with sticks. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, you mean like in the Japanese version or just in general?
In general, like, do you know what that is?
Yeah, there's been other stuff with anime. It's about, well, like sticks with sticks, so it's stuff to do with hell. Hell is like the river Styx, I think, is like, in that terminology, it's like the gateway that somebody would travel between purgatory and hell.
And so they're reading something from the underworld. Is that the idea, kind
Yeah.
of?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. The river Styx. That makes sense, actually. That's interesting. Oh, I thought Andrew is one of the ones who his voice was decent, but it sounded like he was in a radio, so it kind of took away. Also, the arcade scene. It's a sweet scene between Andrew's like teaching Serena how to play or whatever, but at least in this, the sound effects were like too much. I don't know if you noticed that, but
Yeah.
A real challenge, huh? Here, let me show you how it's done.
You don't have to, you know.
Nonsense. Now just watch closely, okay? Now the key to this game is time. You've also got to look out for secret doors.
it was a little overboard. It kind of overpowers the dialogue. Do you remember Serena kicking her shoe off and it landing on Darian's head?
No.
Oh, that happens, and for whatever reason, I forgot about it too. And the way that it's animated is just so funny because the shoe kind of falls a little bit in slow motion, but not really, and it's just like perched on his head. And it's just a classic ditzy move of hers, and one of the reasons why I like her character so much. I thought the guy who played Darian did a good job of sounding douchey in that moment. He was like real condescending, and I did not like him when he was talking to her. What did you think of the evil fortune lady that opens up across from the guy?
It's a cool idea for a monster. The season 1 monsters are more interesting overall, I think, than the later seasons. Well, I mean, I like the ones in S the most, but besides that, like, I think I like the season 1 monsters the most. I just think it's like what the monsters are based off of, or what they're doing in season 1, is it's really dated, but like in a fun and good way. And I think that's just another case of that in episode 2.
I get what you mean. They do feel very like locked in a specific time period, but done well in most of the time. And it's stuff that I think when every now and then when I'll catch a glimpse of something in the similar vein that's more modern, it feels almost like too polished and cutesy now. And there's some grit in season 1 that you lose later on in a lot of things. Also, about Sailor Moon S, I think it's funny you brought that up. That was my favorite concept for the monsters, because even though some of them were kind of wacky, you understood the process of how they were created.
This is too perfect. It's ready.
I like that it was an experiment, and it allows kind of fans to be creative with the idea. Anytime you make a fan story within the season S, you can kind of do whatever you want as long as you follow that rule with how the monster works, right?
Yeah.
So why do you like it so much in S?
Let's see. I do think personally, because with how much I'm into horror as a genre, I think that the monsters in S, like how they're how they were planted are the creepiest, and like the music always stood out to me whenever they're being planted, and like a lot of the transformation scenes, like when the monsters are revealing themselves, are kind of creepy and eerie. I just think a lot of the character design for the monsters in S were super memorable, like Scar and
Yeah.
Tomodachi, and yeah.
Gotcha, silly scarf. Who are you?
I shall cover up your heart, schoolgirl! Lita! This is bad, run!
I think S is probably my favorite season, to be honest.
Yeah, it's usually everybody's favorite season.
And it's hard not to choose that one for the simple fact that it includes everybody and it's more accessible than Stars. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I think that's why it's the default, but also you'll notice this, a lot of shows really tend to hit their stride in season 3. It's like they've done it a couple years, they're gaining momentum. That's usually kind of the peak point for a lot of things. And I think Sailor Moon season 3 is probably its strongest. Animation.
From a artistic standpoint, obviously it was at its peak in season 4, but I mean season 3 is pretty close.
Yeah. But I would agree with that. But I think as much as I love Super S, I think the storytelling in season 3 is better.
Right. Yeah.
For sure. I would love to hear from some people who listen what their favorites are. We'll do a poll eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Andrew fantasy music. It's not real Sailor Moon music, but they threw in some weird like 90s beats behind him, and I thought that was kind of cute. I'll splice that in. We already talked about Melvin throwing up Miss Haruna's skirt. Did you catch? I don't know if it's in the Japanese version or not, but on the fan dub, there's like a smiley face on her butt. Is that in the Japanese one?
I think it is, yeah.
So it's just a little thing to look for if you watch that scene. In the fan dub, they made a few jokes that I thought were kind of funny. They made a South Park reference, which personally, if I was making a fan dub, I would leave stuff like that out because I think it takes you out of the moment a little bit. You know what I mean? But they also kept on referencing Dionne Warwick. Did you notice that?
I'm onto your evil Dionne Warwick scheme, so you might as well give it up right now.
Who's that?
Yeah, like really, that's super out of place.
It was so weird. I was like, why are they talking about Dionne Warwick? And I had to figure it out. So I Googled it, and I would like to share that information. Apparently, Dionne Warwick in the 90s hosted a psychic call-in television show. Hold on one second.
Oh, okay.
It was called the Psychic Friends Network, and it was a telephone psychic service operated in the 1990s that were basically these infomercials that would come on really late at night. And if people know Miss Cleo, it's kind of like that, like the Call Me Now lady. Yeah, the funny thing is, though, they kept referencing her, like Dionne Warwick, as if she were some scammer, like psychic scammer. She was just a singer who hosted the show.
Right.
Like, this was just another gig for her. Apparently, though, when I was looking this up, I guess Dionne Warwick got scammed out of some money in the 90s because an article about that came up, too. So poor Dionne Warwick being put through it, and then they just make fun of her.
Yeah.
She didn't deserve all that. Shout out to Dionne. I didn't even know anything about her besides, because the only thing I know about Dionne Warwick is, have you ever seen Unbreakable Kimmy on Netflix? Oh, well, there's like Maya Rudolph does an impression of Dionne Warwick, and so that's my only reference point to her.
That's really okay.
Yeah. I I get very interested in specific things, and the rest of the world goes over my head most of the time. I kind of can't help it. The monster's death scream was hilarious to me. It lasts forever. I'm gonna put that in for everyone to hear.
No! This upsets me.
Jedi gets one line at the end. He just says, "This upsets me," and leaves. Did he do anything in this episode?
Is it good now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Who'd you say?
Jedi.
Oh, yeah. He just has one thing.
I don't even think we get a little intro with him this time.
Yeah.
Which is unusual. Oh, and then I thought it was cute. Serena forgets the phrase to transform Moon Prism Power.
The coast is clear, so transform.
Into Sailor Moon?
No, the Easter Bunny.
Okay. Luna? What were those magic words again?
Honestly, Serena, Moon Prism Power.
Right, just testing ya. Moon Prism Power!
And I thought that was kind of funny, but then keep in mind, this is her second time ever.
Yeah, so it's
to
pretty
do
realistic.
anything. Yeah. And it's kind of nice getting to see her stumbling, like getting her sea legs or whatever, so to speak. What's your take on how the fight scene goes down and all of that with the Melvin zombies and friends?
It kind of, I mean, I like the monster itself, like I said, but the whole zombie possessed thing kind of, it's more silly, but it's like the monster is still cool.
Yeah, it's one of those, we talked about this, I think, in a recent episode, but it's one of the sillier fight scenes. I like that she uses, because doesn't she use her tiara to kind of calm them down or something?
Yeah.
I like whenever she does something that's not typical, right? So that part is cool to me, but it is a little bit goofy. Also, how is she going to attack her friends? You know,
Right.
It's a little limiting when you do something like that too, because you can't. I mean, it would be wild if she killed Melvin, but no, like that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fight scene, it was all right. Nothing amazing. Do you think, if you could speak to us as 90s fans who don't have access to this in any way, are we missing anything from not having this episode in the dub?
I don't think it's that significant. Yeah.
It's kind of almost like a meme episode where it's like there's that one scene that is so, at least in the 90s standards, it was really salacious that Melvin would throw up this lady's skirt, especially on a show that's like meant for kids.
Yeah.
But other than that moment, it's okay. I mean, it's cute. It's it's fine. But I wouldn't say it wouldn't even break like my top 30 episodes. Do you have any other notes on this one? Do you know who animated it?
Yeah, it was a guy named Katsuji Matsumoto. He's still active today. He only did one other episode of Sailor Moon, and it was episode 7, which is the idol episode.
You Want to Be a Superstar, that one?
Yeah.
Oh, that one's creepy. The monster in that one really grossed me out, actually.
Yep. Same.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, well, he only got 2. I'm surprised how much turnover there is. Is that normal?
Yeah. I think especially back then too.
Just to have them constantly changing. Now, is this the animator or the director that's changing?
Oh, you mean the episodic character designer? Yeah, that's the animation director.
So is that what influences the style? Is he? Does that mean, just for people who might not know, and me, is he the one drawing it? Like,
Yeah.
who's? Okay, he actually drew each frame then.
Yeah, well, like he was in charge of how the character design in episodes 2 and 7. Like he was in charge of how the character design overall looked in both those episodes.
But it
So
would be a team, right? A team of animators.
yeah, but he's overseeing everything and correcting everything that needs to be corrected.
So they kind of imitate his style, or they follow
Yep.
his lead, and that's
Yep.
why it would be similar but not the same when they changed animation director, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. I find that interesting. Also, did you notice that they tried to call out Katie Griffin in this episode by making her one of the random students during attendance, but they called her Katie Griffith. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Katie.
Yeah.
Just so I guess people, this is an old episode, so it doesn't matter here, but Katie and Linda are going to be at a con together in Rhode Island coming up. So they're doing a little reunion. I thought that was kind of cute. Do you know if the voice actors do cons together a lot?
You mean the original cast?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mostly them, but Susan Roman will still do a decent amount of cons. I don't think that she's done any super recently. But in terms of the original cast, it's predominantly Linda and Katie that do the most convention appearances.
Oh, okay. I wonder why. I guess they just probably enjoy them or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's probably a fun environment. I need to start going to those again. The last time I did a con was in like 2008. And it was MegaCon here. And it was so cool, but it was so expensive and also a little overwhelming because it's like packed like sardines here.
Yeah.
And I would need to find someone who knows what to go to and what's a waste of time and what's a waste of money. But I don't know. I think getting back into that stuff would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have coming up professionally?
Just still doing more people that are like added to every Genshin Impact update. The next big Fire Emblem game comes out in less than 2 weeks, so I'm hoping that most of the new characters that are in that are people that I'm hoping most of them are people I haven't talked to yet. I'm really excited for that, to see who those voice actors are.
Are you a Fire Emblem fan?
I don't play it, but I mean that's one of my tattoos. So
how are you a fan if you don't play it?
I just don't play any, I don't play any game anymore because I just don't have the interest of owning or spending money on games at this point. I used to be super, super into it when I was younger, but I'm not anymore. I just follow certain games and franchises like I always follow the lore of it.
Oh, I get what you're saying. You like the stories and stuff. I love Fire Emblem. That's why I was curious.
Okay.
The Three Houses is the one that got me into it.
Good.
It was really fun to play. I think just brainstorming. Do you think they could put Sailor Moon through a Fire Emblem filter and do well with it if they made a game like that?
Yeah, I think that could probably work. Yeah, just like an updated version of one of the Another Story games, like those games that they did for the series back in the 90s.
Yeah, because I feel like just that type of a battle system is fun, but it also allows for a lot of story. And Sailor Moon is kind of great at both of those. That's interesting. Well, we can look forward to some interviews from that. What would you say your biggest, I guess, what gets the most attention on your channel? Like when you interview someone from what series?
Probably, I mean, if it's just talking about a series. It's definitely stuff with Genshin Impact.
That's the big thing now for everybody, right? That it's an MMO. Yeah. Well, congratulations on all of your success in 2022. I'm sure this year you're just going to keep rolling forward, and that's kind of the plan here too. So yeah, that's the end of the episode for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this remastered version of MacDaddy Melvin. And definitely stay tuned. We're going to be remastering the rest of the episodes that Chris was not part of for the beginning of the show. So, you know, as soon as you see that remastered tag, make sure you check out the rest of those. And if you're joining us now from just like as a first-time listener and you're going in order, if the next episode sounds a little wacky compared to this one, that's just because we haven't gotten there yet on, you know, coming back to them. Go ahead and jump to the most recent episode and you'll hear something more like this. Yeah. So if you want to get more of Chris, you can follow him on Instagram and YouTube at Chris Mayek, ChrisMayek. If you want more of me, Alex, you can find me on TikTok at Alex Summers SFE, or you can just follow the Sunshine Farm Entertainment YouTube and Instagram pages, the Moon Star, a Sailor Moon podcast, Facebook and Instagram pages. I run all that stuff. And until next time, have a great week, I guess. Yeah, that's it for the show. Moonstar's Sailor Moon podcast is created for informational and entertainment purposes only. All audio clips and sound effects used in the creation of this show belong expressly to the license and copyright holders.
Who throws roses anyway?
Wow, it's Tuxedo Mask!
Glad you haven't forgotten me, Sailor Moon.
No, wait!
Keep your chin up. It's never that bad.
Oh, whatever you say, Stud Muffin. That would have hurt.
You didn't forget about your tiara too, I hope.
Oh, of course not.
No!